Hey everyone, I'm Nico from Licks of the Beast, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing this Fender Dave Murray Signature Stratocaster. Like many Fender Signature models, this guitar is made in Mexico and it's loaded with quality components like a genuine Floyd Rose double locking tremolo system, 3 Seymour Duncan pickups, vintage style tuners, and a compound radius rosewood fretboard. I've had this guitar for a few weeks now, so I got to really play it quite a bit, and I even recorded a few videos with it, including a full cover of the Book of Souls, which I'll link to at the end of this video. The thing that stood out to me from the very beginning was the sound. This guitar sounds phenomenally good. The bridge pickup has some serious crunch tone, the neck pickup really sings, and believe it or not, the middle pickup is surprisingly usable as well. Aesthetically, this is a really nice looking instrument. It's a really good blend of classic and modern. The two-tone sunburst Strat body, the Fender headstock, pearl pickguard, and vintage style tuners give it that classic blues guitar bass, and the Floyd Rose hot rails pickups, slim neck, and compound fretboard are nice modern touches both visually and sonically. At first, this particular one felt a little stiff and had some sharp frets, but that was because the wood had dried out quite a bit while it was in the store's backspace or whatever. The guitar was in Montreal and winters there can be brutally cold, and that's pretty rough on a guitar. So I had my luthier file down the frets a little bit, put some fresh strings on it, and give it a good setup. Now the guitar feels great, and the more I play this guitar, the more I want to play it. The neck feels really nice, and it's easy to let your fingers just glide all over the fretboard. It lends itself really nicely to that very fluid Dave Murray legato style of playing. The Floyd 1000 series stays in tune really well, and the pickups are so versatile. They sound great clean, crunchy, or with heavy distortion. Let's check out a few sounds. The body of this guitar is made of alder, and the finish is a two-tone sunburst that is all class. It comes equipped with a Floyd Rose 1000 series tremolo, which is a lower profile version of the Floyd Rose original. The bridge is not recessed and you can only pull up about one whole step. And for me, that's just fine, as I don't normally pull up on the bar unless I've already pushed it down. The pearl pickguard adds a very nice touch of elegance. I used to think it looked a little bit cheap and maybe toy-like in the pictures, but the real thing actually looks really sharp. For pickups, we have 3 Seymour Duncan single coil sized humbuckers, hot rails in the bridge and neck position, and the JB Jr. in the middle. All 3 are high output ceramic magnet pickups that also clean up really nice and are very responsive to the tone and volume controls, so you can get a wide variety of sounds from this guitar. The neck is C-shaped and it's fairly slim without being shred or thin. It's very comfortable, and even though I prefer a satin finish, the gloss on this one feels just fine. The rosewood fretboard feels very nice, and it features a 9.5 to 14-inch compound radius. So it starts off more like a standard Stratocaster up by the headstock, and it gets a little more flat towards the higher frets so that you can play those fast licks smoothly and get some nice bends without the risk of them being choked out by the curvature of the fretboard. And speaking of frets, I should mention this guitar only has 21 frets, so if you like to play in that upper register E minor or B minor box position, you'll have to do a little more bending due to the absence of a 22nd fret. A traditional Fender headstock is a must on a guitar like this, and the vintage style tuners are a nice bonus for me, as I prefer them to the standard tuners. Finally, the signature from the man himself, Mr. Dave Murray, on the back of the headstock. I think it's awesome that they put it there instead of on the front, so it just looks like a really cool Strat and doesn't necessarily scream Iron Maiden or Dave Murray. So what are my thoughts on the Fender Dave Murray Signature Stratocaster? Well, I really like it. I wouldn't call this a premium guitar, but it is a very good quality instrument that looks and plays great and has a very nice spec sheet on top of it. It's the exact same price of an American Performer Strat, and between the two, I definitely pick this one. In terms of pros and cons, I would say that the pros are the awesome Seymour Duncan pickups, the neck, the genuine Floyd Rose, and the gorgeous looks. For the cons, I tried to find something, but honestly, for the kind of guitar and the price point, I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. It's got great features, it does everything it's intended to do, it looks great, it feels nice, and it sounds awesome. If I'm gonna nitpick, I will say that the gig bag it comes with is a bit on the cheap side. Fender calls this their deluxe gig bag, but really, it's just a cheap, fairly thin bag. My Gibson SG Standard, which is an American-made guitar that feels very high-end, costs about 20% more, but it comes with a nice padded form soft case. So maybe they could have done a little bit better on that end, but it's really no big deal, and again, I'm really nitpicking here. And in the end, I'm happy that if they had to cut corners somewhere to keep the price from getting too high, they skimped on the case and not something that affects sound, aesthetics, or playability. For you Maiden fans that are wondering whether to get this or the Jackson Adrian Smith SDX, get both. But seriously, I don't think it's a fair comparison because the Jackson is a little less than half the price of this Fender, so of course there will be some important differences. The Fender has much better pickups, so it sounds better. The quality control seems to be more consistent, and the Floyd 1000 series is a better trem unit than the Floyd Rose Special, although it isn't something you really notice when you're playing. Both do a fine job of keeping the guitar in tune, and both allow you to dive bomb to your heart's content. I own both, and after making some mods to the Jackson, and I'll link that review video at the end, I'd say they're pretty even in terms of sound and playability. That being said, this Fender still looks and feels like a higher quality guitar overall. So that's it. I really hope this was useful and informative, and if any questions come to mind, please leave them in the comments and I'll answer to the best of my knowledge. Please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, so that you can be up to date with the latest videos. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more licks of the beast.